YouTube as well now. Oh, I started it way too soon. Now I'm starting YouTube. Should be updated. All right, what's up, chat? You guys doing okay? You hanging in there? What up, Fee? What up, everybody? Hello, YouTube. Brian going to start charging us $40 to watch you. I wish, brother. I wish I had that kind of motion. Lock y'all down. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe I gotta take a page out of Capcom's book. Is that what I should have been doing this whole time? I could have been hosting like the dumpster dive, diabolical, beat down. What, I need another D there. We need some more alliteration. Host my own tournament with $1 million prize pool. All that it required was me forcing you guys to pay me $40 a pop to get the premium Brian F stream experience.
Oh well, if you can't beat them, join
Just throw a prolific in there. We'll fit a prolific in there somehow. Rogue Jericon, thanks for the big 29 months. 6 months of ad-free Brian F viewing for a price of a Capcom Cup final. Sign me in. Hey, this guy, you know what's up, man. You know a good deal when you see one. And Lore Rowe with the fresh prime as well. Thank you so much for that. Ain't no way I'm paying to watch Capcom Cup. Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and just lay the groundwork for those who don't know what's going on. So a couple months ago, we saw the hints of this latest development occur with the announcement regarding Street Fighter League Japan, where they put out a notice from Capcom Fighters here about how you can leverage Street Fighter League Japan in your own streams and in your own content. And essentially what they're saying is you can't show shit for Street Fighter League Japan unless you only show this one little square over the timer, essentially making it so that if you were to restream Street Fighter League Japan or make content regarding it, it cannot include any of the actual broadcasts. You could only include things like the timers for watch parties. And apparently this is like a normal thing to do for watch parties in Japan and Japan streaming culture, where you would have something to allow viewers to synchronize the main broadcast on one screen or in one window, and then they can have the watch party of the streamer they like in the other window, synchronize the two feeds, get the commentary and input from the restreamer, and also have the original broadcast as a way to distribute views to both the original broadcaster and the restreamer. And apparently this seemed rather normal to the Japanese audience, and of course the rest of the world was like, what the fuck is this? And there was a lot of discussions around this, and a lot of negativity surrounding it, and it further solidified how Street Fighter League Japan is essentially a Japanese only product, because what this prevents is it prevents other content creators and like Street Fighter and fighting game content aggregators, I would say, sort of like myself, Sage Ambroski, whoever, from really reviewing or doing any content about Street Fighter League Japan while it's hot and relevant, right? Like, say there's an amazing set I wanted to do an analysis of, or like do a watch party of the broadcast even the day after and watch it on stream to review the matches, get caught up with the competitive scene, and then maybe use that to produce more bespoke edited content for YouTube and, broadcast that to the American audience for like on my side. That's not allowed, right? So it's all being done for the sake of locking down the broadcast so that the source of the viewership for any of the actual content is from the audience straight to the primary source. And I think overall that probably hurts its cultural relevancy. However, what it ends up doing is I think it ends up securing the original content producers, Capcom Fighters, and their content platforms as being the primary source for the Japanese market. They're essentially locking down the Japanese market at the expense of the greater reach that occurs through these other content sharing mechanisms that we come to know in the rest of the world and in like the American audience and like, content creators in Latin America, so on and so forth, South America, right? Generally, the way it goes is we might crunch down the 5-hour stream, highlight some moments, and serve as a content aggregator to like keep the consciousness of the community alive in terms of understanding and following these other events. And I didn't expect it to go this far, but they decided to triple down on this approach, which is something I predicted when reviewing this incident with Street Fighter League Japan, I made comments like, yeah, I kind of see what they're going for. They've already done pay-per-view in Japan for Street Fighter League playoffs. I think this is a move by Capcom to more lock down their control of their IP and their content broadcast, and really 100% monetize and control their production in the Japanese audience. And now with Capcom Cup 12, they've announced today that not only are they selling tickets for live in-person seating, which they did last year as well at the same Kokujan Arena. I'm butchering the name. Please, amazing arena, amazing venue. But not only that, they're doing pay-per-view for the actual broadcasts. And if you don't do the pay-per-view, it will be available for free a week later. If you don't know, 6,000 yen, if you're paying that for Capcom Cup 12 and Street Fighter League Worlds, the bundle for both of those broadcasts, they're doing Capcom Cup, I believe, first before Street Fighter League Worlds again. That is 6,000 yen is around 40 USD. So you would have to pay 40 USD to get the full product live, which you got for free last year. And it's I would assume, going to be a very similar broadcast to last year. I would assume. Now, obviously, most people are pissed. Most people are pissed about this. And yeah, I get it. I think, once again, this is another step where I was talking to a few people off stream about this, right? I did some tweets and I was texting a few people about trying to understand where Capcom's mind is at. And usually when I talk about this stuff publicly, I take a very pragmatic approach, and I'm more like analyzing what Capcom is thinking more than my personal opinion on all of this. Because what I'm seeing out of this strategy, and I've been saying this for a long time, is I think more and more with the explosion of Street Fighter 6 in Japan, the absolute absurd numbers of engagement and viewership from the Japanese audience. I don't have the exact numbers. I have some examples I'll bring up. I don't have the exact numbers to prove this, but my perspective is that the Japanese audience dwarfs the rest of the global audience combined. In terms of viewership, in terms of engagement, in terms of tournament entrance, at all levels, if you combine the rest of the world, it is less engagement on every level than what you see with Japan alone. And even in this announcement on the Capcom Fighters, an English and usually run by Capcom USA account, even the prices are all in yen. And this is a global event. Capcom Cup has qualifiers online. The World Warrior program, literally designed to ensure that players from all corners of the globe, regardless of their economic position and ability to travel, should be able to have at least one representative, so one person who's given a shot to qualify. Then the price is in yen on this flyer, and that's around $40 USD, 6,000 yen. $40 USD means very different things depending on where in the world you were from. Very, very, very different things. For people in certain regions of the world, this is just an absurd price to pay to be able to watch a broadcast. Absolutely fucking absurd. It doesn't take into consideration at all the global audience, that it's almost contradictory. They're cultivating this global audience via the World Warrior program, and then they're pricing out all the people from that region who would be excited to watch their representative from a region that normally doesn't get a shot at these sort of things because maybe the tournament infrastructure isn't there, the players can't afford to travel as much. Finally, they get a representative to go to Capcom Cup, and then you price out all the spectators from back home from watching. So what was the point in the World Warrior program in the first place? Right? Like, what was the point? And what I'm seeing here is, I think since 2020, even pre-COVID, right, the World Warrior program was promoted at Capcom Cup 2019 pre-COVID. So there was already going to be an element of the Pro Tour with points and in addition to some online reserve spots with World Warrior. That was demoed and a slideshow announcement after Capcom Cup 2019. So they were already making this pivot in that era, 2019 to 2020, to start to incorporate more of a global audience. Since the explosion of Street Fighter 6's popularity in Japan and the success of Street Fighter League Japan itself, pay-per-view for Street Fighter League Japan amongst the Japanese audience, I feel that Capcom, and this is what I've been preaching for a while now, I've been saying the business is going to Japan. I feel like Capcom is starting to pivot more and more and more to exclusively focusing on monetizing and addressing their total addressable market, which is now Japan. I think they're starting to give up on this whole global world circuit view. That's what it feels like to me. I think they're just like, wait a minute, why are we trying to go for the world when more than half of our viewership and engagement comes from our home country right here? And culturally, from my understanding, I would like input from the chat and other people who might know more than me. This is my cursory knowledge. I'm not an expert on Japanese culture by any means whatsoever, but from what I've seen, is it seems like the Japanese audience is also much more willing to abide by these rules, to follow, like, oh, the regulations say that we should do watch parties only with this timer. That's no problem. We will happily abide by those rules. Oh, we get to pay access to view Street Fighter League Japan. We enjoy this product. We'll happily pay this price to participate. Capcom Cup is 6,000 yen to watch. That's totally fine. I enjoy Capcom Cup. I enjoy Street Fighter 6. I will happily pay this price to support it and to legally partake in it. Whereas the rest of the world is like, hey, you've given me this for free for years with advertisements included, and the broadcast quality isn't increasing, and I'm not getting more for... You went from free to $40, and I'm not getting more for that cost. I'm going to pirate this or move on. So that's a big cultural divide as well. So I almost feel like Capcom is hitting the point where they're like, fuck it. Time to learn Japanese, buddy. You like Street Fighter 6? You like Street Fighter Esports? This is where it is. And we are focusing on our Japanese audience. And that is where we're actually going to be able to make a return on investment. And if you want to partake in this, hey, maybe come do Street Fighter League Japan if you're a pro player. This is what we're going to continue to focus on and developing. That is the only rationale I could have for them going this route. That is the only rationale I could have. I was talking to a few other people about this, and some people's perspective is that they think that Capcom feels that this will be successful globally. As in, yes, some people will not pay for it. However, they will be fine watching it a week later. And there will still be a large number of engagement from the global audience paying to watch this because they care so much about Capcom Cup. I don't believe that to be true. I don't believe that's their perspective. But if that is actually what Capcom thinks, if the suits making decisions think that this will be successful and get engagement from a global audience, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. That is fucking dumb. I totally understand if they say, screw it, we think we're going to make enough money from the Japanese audience paying for this that we can stand to lose on our global audience and we'll be okay, and will be a come up for us, and this is our strategy. At least I see what they're going for. I don't think that'll be great overall for the long term. I think that's short-sighted as well. But if they honestly think that, like, the rest of the world is going to happily pay 40 USD to watch this, including regions that... Imagine fucking Blas right last year in Chile making that run, and no one in Chile was going to see that till a week later. The whole point of watching these events is to partake in it live. You need to be part of the energy when it's live. You need to be part of the discussion when it's live. No one cares a week later in that sense. If it's a week later, people don't want to watch the event. They might get a summary of it, a recap. They might look at the results. They might discuss it a little bit. They might look at it as a stat point. But people aren't going to watch the broadcast in full a week later. They might watch one highlight, but no one's going to want to watch the whole... No, who watches the whole Super Bowl a week later? Who does that? That is not a thing. You got to be part of it live. That the suspense of not knowing what's going to happen and being part of that experience with everyone else is the whole point. Has anyone watched Game 7 of the NBA Finals a week after the fact? It doesn't make sense. So that's the only two rows I see. And so if Capcom is honestly suspecting that they're gonna like make this a successful project and get decent amount of engagement for people paying globally, I think that's insane and that's dumb as fuck. However, if they say, you know what, we don't really care because we think we're gonna make more money and this is gonna be sustainable and we're gonna focus more on being an insular esport for the Japanese country and Japanese audience, then I think that sucks for everyone in the world, but at least I can understand what they're thinking from a business perspective. Like I'm wondering what they're thinking from a business perspective, really. What up, broski? What'd you say? If there's one thing I've learned from Street Fighter League NA and Street Fighter League EU is that the people love finding out about results after they happen. Yeah, Street Fighter League NA USA has already failed because of the fact that it's pre-recorded. Even the fact that even matches that haven't been aired, but you know that they're pre-recorded, already ruins that suspense. It already kills it. Even from a business perspective, it's dumb as fuck. Yeah, maybe. I wonder if that's the gamble they're making. Like, this is what I've been suspecting for a while, is that more and more you're going to see an increase in the business of Street Fighter moving towards Japan, players moving to Japan. Street Fighter League Japan is very successful. The only region where I feel like this has, as an esport, really taken roots has been Japan. So, like I said, I don't know if this is a gamble on the Japanese audience caring or what. So, people were also making comments about doing a boycott. And once again, I don't think the world boycotting this matters. If Capcom was smart enough to understand that the world is already going to not pay for this, in that world, then a boycott outside of Japan doesn't matter because it's all about if the Japanese audience bites or not. Now, if Capcom really did expect everyone else to be like, yeah, at least some of you guys are going to pay for it, then I think that would make a difference. But I would be so shocked if Capcom really suspected that this would go over smoothly. But either way, yeah, I think the pivot to focus too aggressively on only Japan, I don't know if that's going to work long term either. I don't know. $40 is crazy expensive. Now, like, they could have... I can see... I'm not even one that's totally against doing paid broadcasts. I am not actually against that entirely. However, you have to split the difference somewhere. If you're going to take the same broadcast, which is full of ad breaks, full of downtime, and not up the quality or offer anything different, you're just making people pay for something that was free originally, capturing the market, and then trying to squeeze what you can't get out of them. And we see that strategy all the time in tech startups and other things. But those things tend to disrupt your daily lives and force you to not really have any other options before they start squeezing you for all your money. This is an entertainment product. This could go away instantly and the world would keep spinning with no issue. The Capcom Cup could disappear overnight and it wouldn't matter, right? So it's a very dangerous play. It's a really dangerous play. Yeah, so I made a tweet. This was the direction Street Fighter 6 Esports has been heading with the success in Japan, but feels really premature. No regional pricing for the World Championships with online qualifiers from around the globe is also rather tone deaf. Street Fighter 6 Esports becoming more Japan first products. Yeah, it just feels like the focus is on Japan entirely. One other thing I wanted to point out is I still don't think a lot of people outside of Japan really understand just how big Street Fighter is in Japan and where this, I don't know if you want to call it confidence, delusion, sense of delusion comes from. But if we look at like their viewership, just glancing at Kawano's YouTube, every day he uploads a stream highlight and he cracks anywhere from 250,000 to 500,000 views. You can look at, this is Naru with his Jamie cracking an easy 200k on the regular. Tokido, he's cracking 150, 120k on the regular. Going the popular ones, they're getting near a million. The Street Fighter 6 players, I just want to be very clear. The Street Fighter 6 players in Japan are getting more viewership than our biggest content creators elsewhere. Maximilian doesn't get this much viewership. Sagem doesn't get this much viewership. The Street Fighter 6 content creators are eating, and they're like the pro players. And these are stream highlights. This is highlights of them practicing the Street Fighter 6 game on stream and maybe discussing a strategy or discussing an element. Like, this is not them doing some heavily edited or out of the norm content that has some kind of hook or some kind of novelty. Generally, a lot of this, not saying they don't do great content, but generally a lot of this is stuff really grounded in the competitive mindset and understanding the game of Street Fighter 6. Generally, it's not meant to be like some shit that is like, haha, hee hee, I played with some famous celebrity, and if I lost the game, I shaved my head. You know, it's not something that requires some lowbrow hook to get a general audience engaged. It's people watching this because the players are good and their insights on the game are interesting to a large audience in Japan, which does not happen to that scale anywhere else in the world. So I want to point that out. And we can even go further, like the viewership numbers across these different events. So Capcom Cup 11 was actually really successful in Japan, I think, and I think that's because it was in Japan and featured a great storyline, Kakaroo versus Blas, Kakaroo defending the home turf in Japan, young prodigy coming out of nowhere playing with Ryu, 354,000 peak viewership. That was really good, right? Compared to EVO Vegas, 320,000 peak viewership. EVO Japan, 299,000 peak viewership. But if we just go to instead a Japan only influencer event like Legendus, 306,000 peak viewership, average viewers 261,000. The average viewership for Legendus, which is a influencer run Street Fighter event by FPS Shaka, got more viewership than EVO Japan, and the peak viewership is comparable to Capcom Cup 11 and EVO Vegas, and the average viewership shits on it and was only aired for 7 hours. This is a Japan only event. So I just really want to point out that these events that are insular to Japan are still killing it. And there's multiple of these. Yeah, these are influencer partnered events. Legendus, I believe, this one was only the influencers playing, but some of the different formats of these include the team tournament one, which has the content creator playing the same character as the pro player. So they're not these. I just want to be very clear. I think some people hear these influencer events and they start imagining like Kai Cenat playing or I Show Speed fucking playing City of the Wolves with KSI for one random ad. You have to understand that these guys are legit players. They're like 1800 MR players. They're collaborating with the pro players. They're learning the game. They're respecting the game. They partake in the tournaments. They enter the World Warriors. Like, they're part of the culture. This isn't like a one-off novelty thing that famous people are getting people to enjoy Street Fighter 6. They have integrated fully into the world of Street Fighter, and they respect and prop up the pro players and look to them. Like, it's not just a novelty thing. It's not a one-off. A lot of these influencers have become a part of the FGC and have grown the FGC heavily due to that. So I just want to give that perspective on Japan, just how big it is. Like, these insular events can rival our biggest tournaments that we have to offer in comparison, which is nuts. So I just want to make sure people are clear on that. But, you know, there's other ways to monetize this. Like, a big part of this is, you know, Capcom Cup is $1 million prize pool. They spend tons of money on the esports circuit, and obviously the goal of this is for the publisher to make money. So how does Capcom make money from the Capcom Pro Tour now that they're inflating the prize pool like crazy? It used to be $250,000 for first place. Now it's 4 times that much, and there's still bigger pricing for the rest of the tournament itself. How does Capcom actually fund all this? Well, the goal is obviously to sell copies of the game, sell DLC, and get customers from the advertisements of the Esports Initiative to pay for this. Is that going to be driving enough sales to make up the difference? I don't know. Maybe these numbers are not very clear, but generally for the esports bubble in general, the only party that stands to potentially make any money has always been the publisher. I've talked about this many times. The teams, all that shit, outside of maybe some certain leagues that have solved it, are for the most part flushing money down the toilet, right? All those celebrities who invested millions of dollars to prop up esports teams during like the 2016 and beyond era before COVID, they all just flushed millions of dollars down the toilet. They're never going to see that money back. It never made sense except for the publishers who are using the esports division to advertise their game to get more sales of DLC and sell more Chun-Li costumes, right? So it could be argued that this pay-per-view is a move to help fund the Capcom Pro Tour itself and help to make a return on investment on all of this whole production. And, you know, if only there was a way to do that. If only there was other ways to fund this $1 million prize pool. Well, it turns out, you know, other games have solved this, right? Dota, first international drew attention due to its staggering $1.6 million USD prize pool, the highest prize pool of any single esports tournament at the time. Since 2013, the community has been able to contribute to the prize pool by purchasing Compendium or Battle Pass, where 25% of the sales go to the prize pool. So they have achieved this level of esports success in other games via, you know, driving sales with battle passes and DLC content. If only we could do the same. Oh wait, we have. We have done that. Since Street Fighter V, we've had the Capcom Pro Tour DLC package, which apparently has generated over $100,000 for the Capcom prize pool. This was November 21st, 2016 for the first Capcom Pro Tour. This was part of the model that was done in the past. 30% of the proceeds went to the Capcom prize pool. So it seemed like what this was done, how this was done, was that this would be contributing to the prize pool without actually growing it beyond a certain point. It seems like Capcom was aiming to meet a minimum of 250K starting with Street Fighter V, and these DLC sales were driving that to meet that minimum. They weren't going to... Essentially, Capcom is pocketing the difference in the rare instance where the sales generated more than the pricing they were aiming for. They would just pocket the difference. So this stopped, I believe, near the end of Street Fighter V. They at least did one through Championship Edition. I don't remember if they went all the way through the final season of Street Fighter V doing the DLC stages for Capcom Pro Tour or not. But they stopped really advertising how much they were contributing to the prize pool from the Capcom Pro Tour DLC. It became a lot more low-key about like how this operated, and come Street Fighter 6, it just went away. This whole initiative just completely went away. So there's other models that have been explored before to fund esports and to capitalize on fan engagement without it being just like a cash grab that would shrink the potential audience. I feel this is just antithetical to how Capcom Cup is set up. I've talked in the past about how I understand pay-per-view for Street Fighter League Japan because it works. I feel much more positive, or at least accepting, of a pay-per-view model for something like a Street Fighter League Japan, because yeah, you're immediately cutting off the rest of the world to it, but it's a Japanese league and the Japanese audience is willing to pay for it. So who am I to tell you not to do that? For Capcom Cup, you have the Capcom Pro Tour. This is a world culmination for this event. This is not insular to any one region. It seems the whole point of this is to bring the entire world together to spectate and appreciate the love of Street Fighter and competition. And I just think this is antithetical to the whole basis of this event. And you know what? I almost wouldn't be surprised if this ends up making Capcom money in the short term. If the Street Fighter audience is that rabid and hungry for more Street Fighter 6 events and content, there is a chance that maybe Capcom did these projections and plotted it so that they make tons of money from the audience in Japan. I don't think they're going to see hardly any money from the rest of the world. I don't think many people outside of Japan are going to pay for this. I think it's going to flop outside of Japan, and it's going to drastically reduce the viewership, in my opinion, at least by half. I would say maybe half the viewership. Maybe they get half the viewers supplemented from Japanese audience, but it's going to hurt the cultural relevancy of Street Fighter and Capcom Cup outside of Japan. 100%. So if their goal is to make this as successful as possible for Japan only, this is a step in that direction. This is a step in that direction. If that's what, maybe that's what Capcom wants. I don't know. I would almost be accepting, to me, if I don't know the logistics of this, but maybe they had a premium broadcast where instead of during ad breaks, they did more interviews with the players, or they did extra content or something like that, whereas the regular broadcast didn't have that. If you allowed people to pay extra for more content, I think that would be a great model to go for. But to make it so that you can't even watch the fucking show live is just stupid. Ads are not enough? No, generally no, ads are not enough. I think that's one thing to understand as well, is even though I'm talking shit about the pay-per-view model, I do need to stress that the giveaway everything for free and then run ads on the ad balls, monetize the viewership, has failed, by the way. Just to be clear, the old model, if Capcom was not generating enough DLC sales from doing this, the advertisements and sponsors from the actual event is not a model that has been working for esports. Like selling the sponsor spots and the ad prices for sponsors that then the viewers watch the ads and sponsors paid for those spots, that has failed esports for the past 20 years. So I just want to be very clear about that. That has not proved to be a sustainable model. That was the gamble that everyone was going for. And that's why I say that on top of that, what the publishers are gunning for of the actual esports title is, hey, we might not make a return directly on the ads of the actual event, on what all the money we're putting into making this happen, but the sales, the exposure to our product, getting people to buy it, getting people to pay for the DLC, that'll make up the difference. That'll make a profit for us. So that is how this has worked to any degree, right? So yeah, the whole concept of like ads being and generating enough revenue from that, the scale of these events has far outpaced the return that you could ever potentially hope to make from the advertisements, because the audience is just not there. And also, generally, the gaming audience is considered a very low CPM demographic, right? Your eyeballs, everybody's eyeballs in this stream right now, they're not worth a lot. I'm sorry. I've seen the numbers. You guys, you're 25 to 34 years old. You're male. 99.1% of you are male. You're 25. About 40% of you are 25 to 34%. 25 to 34 years old. About 60% of you, 50% of you are from the USA. Maybe another 10% from Canada. 5% from the UK, and then 4% from Brazil. And I'm sorry, none of you have that much money, and therefore selling ads for you, it does not make that much money. Okay? It's just the truth. And so that extends as well to the esports divisions. And in fact, a lot of what the esports organizers were also banking on were things like merch sales. Trying to drive merch sales was another idea to monetize that. And that has not panned out at all in the other esports divisions. Now, I think we could solve that. I think having things like Street Fighter League is a step in that direction, because in order to sell a jersey, you need a player that is guaranteed to be in the finals. The Capcom Pro Tour, with how many pro players there are, and it being an open bracket system and it being open to the world, that does not lead to a consistency in representation. And therefore, you literally don't know if your favorite player is going to be there. So Street Fighter League, I think, is the solution to have that, because who's going to buy the jersey for the player who doesn't even end up in Capcom Cup, because you don't know who's going to make it, right? Like you buy your LeBron jersey and LeBron doesn't even make it into the NBA that year. You're at the stadium and you can't even watch him play. So Street Fighter League is a solution for that. And I think other esports have struggled with that because the fans don't want to spend money. And also, I think there's no fucking personality and other esports at all. I think one thing the FGC has a slight advantage of is we have more personality. We're more grassroots in that sense. The players are a bit more engaging. They're more personal. I think Daigo is funny as fuck, right? I think Daigo jerseys could sell, for example, a little bit. I think the problem with us is less the player personality and fan engagement and more like the economics of it all. And also the fact that there's lack of consistency in terms of these competitive forums, aside from Street Fighter League.
I'll have you know, I have pennies to my name.
Not anymore. Dropping them all in this stream. Thanks, Foreman, for the 300 bits. Check between your couch cushions next time. I'm 9B Link. Thanks for the 3 months. Thanks for all the subs, guys. Adam, what up, man? Can I borrow $40 to watch Capcom Cup and not after that 2x KO performance? I'm sorry. Come back when you're ready. Jowl with the Prime. J-God de Malucio with the 35 months. Thanks, everybody. You'd buy a Daigo jersey? Right. I think certain things like that could work. But anyways, that was part of the big plan for a lot of the esports was merch sales was part of that whole ecosystem, and that flopped. So in general, I think none of this, like all the shows we've been having, the level of spectacle we've been having, none of it makes sense. So in a way, I feel like we're starting to finally see things come back down to earth, and this is part of that. But I don't think this is going to make the landing any softer. unless Japan shows up, man. Who knows, dude? This shit might be Japan only Japanese commentators soon. Who knows? Esports merch is corny, to be honest. What makes it more corny than wearing a sports jersey? I'm not trying to be like, I think I did a tone there that was me trying to imply that I disagree with you or something, but I'm actually being serious. Nobody knows what it is. Like if you wear a jersey for your favorite team or like a player's jersey. For example, I generally would not wear a player's jersey. I'm not trying to have another man's name on my back, generally. So I'm just kind of curious what you guys think. Unless it's Daigo. Yeah, let me not speak too soon. Crazy way to put that. What other way am I supposed to put that? Not even Tokido? Maybe Kakadu. Honestly, when you think about t-shirts in general, it's hilarious that we basically wear ads and pay for it. I have a memory of me saying that to my uncle who had a Harley Davidson Harley Davidson t-shirt on when I was like 11 or 12 years old. I think I said verbatim that, like, why would you wear an ad for Harley Davidson? Then he's like, well, why would you wear an ad for Dragon Ball Z? And I was like, touche, Unc. I do love me some Goku, and I need the world to know. I was like, you right. I will be a walking billboard for Goku going Super Saiyan when Frieza took out Krillin and all of his friends. And through the power of friendship and love, he powered up and did what was necessary to save his loved ones. You right. I donate to the Spirit Bomb. Facts. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this? The thing is, right now on social media, one thing that is always apparent is there's going to be a lot of negativity, and a lot of people will speak out about this. And many of the people who are going to go, what the fuck, are also going to pay for this. Just to be clear, that will happen. What the fuck? I would never, ever, ever. And then they're watching it live, tweeting about it. No, so that's going to happen. Like, just to be clear, there will be some people who are outraged right now who will end up paying for it. The thing is, for me, is not only does this, can you watch the VOD if you pay for it? The problem with Capcom Cup in Japan is I also can't even watch it live barely to begin with. So I would be paying $40 to watch the replay. What about restreams? No, restreams, brother. Restreams are going down. Here's the thing about this. I talked about this earlier, right? I generally make a lot of Capcom Cup retrospective content. I like usually when Capcom Cup's going on every single day. I provide the highlights, clips, moments. Get this updated storylines. I can't do any of that. I would not be allowed to do any of that. So I've also seen some criticism thrown my way. Like I'm celebrating this. I'm saying this is a good thing. This shit hurts my bottom line. This shit is not good for me. Just to be extremely clear. I know I tend to view things a lot more pragmatically or try to explain the economics or the rationale behind these decisions rather than just being like, this is fucking stupid. I generally tend to like try to analyze why these decisions are being made. I just want to make it extremely clear that this is something that will directly impact my ability to monetize content. So it's not that big of a deal. Like, this is also not my gig, you know. I just want to be clear, just to give more street cred to my position here. This is not good for me. I don't make more money if Capcom charges you $40 to watch Capcom Cup. Is the title clickbait? No, it's not. This is the least clickbait title I've ever used for a stream. This stream title is literally a fact. That's all it is. Yeah, I have a job. I'm fact baiting right now. My bad. The gamble, especially for outside of Japan, is that the matches before top 16 are free to get you invested. I think that $40 is way too much for that plan. $5 like a sub would have made sense for me. $40 is way too much. Way too much. Actually, I wonder, since the group stages are free to watch, will we be able to do a restream of those? I was just assuming that brings up a good point, to be quite honest. I was just assuming there'd be no restream allowed because of the Street Fighter League rules and the pay-per-view now being set up for the finals. But maybe we can still do restreams and make content on the group stages. No hate, but do people really watch the group stage and then just stop? Yeah, if they don't want to spend the money. I can imagine many people around the world will watch the group stages, look at the top 16, and then wait for the next day to see the bracket update and just visualize the matches in their head. Do a little computer simulation. Yes. Oh, I see. Tokido beat Daigo 3-1. I imagine. He did a proper footsie battle in this range, and then actually managed to counter the DI strategy represented by Daigo. You know, we're going to have to do a mental replay of the matches in our head. I'm sure that's going to be a lot of people. Yeah, Liquipedia might never recover. Liquipedia might never recover from the amount of people refreshing the bracket. Some server farm somewhere is going to go up in flames. It's only the top 8 in Street Fighter League pay-per-view. It's the finals, so the 14th and 15th. So the finals, the 14th and 15th, which is the top 16 and to fit conclusion for Capcom Cup, and then the World Championship. So the group stages for Capcom Cup are the 11th through 13th, and those will be accessible live for free. It's only the final 2 days, which is top 16 for Capcom Cup and Street Fighter League World. Now, it's a little weird for me. What is this Street Fighter League World Championship qualifiers? I actually kind of missed this detail. What does that mean? Normally, the Street Fighter League Worlds is completely decided. Japan is always 10 years behind or 10 years ahead, man. I can't tell. Like I said, some people are approaching this from Capcom being dumb and behind, but I don't know. I always do like to lean on the side of Capcom being dumb and out of touch, but I also feel like there's a world here where this is a conscious strategy just to completely replace the Japanese audience or the global audience with only Japan. I do feel like that might be part of what they're thinking. Like, hey, this is our bread and butter now. We don't really care about the rest. I don't know. That's what else could you say? It's just biblical greed. Is it? I mean, I also don't think it's greed. Once again, guys, you got to remember that they are giving away $1 million to some guy for playing a video game. They're paying to rent out this entire studio. They're doing this whole tour. They're doing this whole event. There's a lot of money put into this. So something has to be made sustainable. I don't know if it's just greed. It could be. It definitely could be. But you have to understand that so many esports initiatives have just failed to make a return and have just lost people millions. And so maybe this just shouldn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, there's also that. It's like, maybe this is a dumb idea to try to salvage something. It's hard for me to know because I don't know their bottom line. But maybe this is just a ecosystem and a system that was never meant to be, right? And this is some kind of dying last grasp to make this sustainable. Or maybe it's a really brilliant business play to capitalize on the Japanese audience, and they're going to make more money on this initiative than they've made in this entire decade plus of doing the Capcom Pro Tour. Go back to 250k prize pool. I think we really got to get rid of the million. I think doing the million and the insane price split that they do, $1 million for first place, and it drops to 100k for second, and then it falls off a cliff after that. I think that needs to end immediately. I think that, to me, that is dumb as fuck. There's no way around that. I don't think there's any upside. Like, I'm arguing for potential upsides, not from any individual perspective. I think this is bad for the community globally. Once again, I'm saying from Capcom's point of view, like, if I'm a greedy business Capcom exec, what I'm saying is maybe there's a strategy where this greedy play as a Capcom exec actually makes sense. Not for the community, I'm saying for Capcom, right? But from anybody's perspective, including Capcom, I don't understand the whole point of the million. Make the prize pool, even if you make the prize pool $1 million, split the prize differently. And I think the whole $1 million prize tagline, I don't think it matters anymore. And I think now that City of the Wolves has done 1,500,000, like, how fucking far are we gonna go, dude? I don't think that shit actually, like, turns heads anymore. I don't think it gets the soccer moms to pay attention and to start signing their kids up for Street Fighter 6 classes after school. I think it's done. I think that era of doing the shocking sticker price on esports to get the boomers to acknowledge this as something legitimate, I think it's over. And then now, if you're going to go down that path, you're just going to keep inflating prize pools, especially in the first place position, to make this less and less of a sustainable career option and more of a race to the top. And then, you know, have that person retire instead of having a sustainable career path for allowing more players to continuously hone their craft and make a sustainable living and to sustain a ecosystem where you can, then advertise your product. Like, I don't know. I think this whole race to inflate the first place prize is very dumb. No matter who you are, greedy Capcom exec or not. $250K is as attractive as $1 million for an FGC player. I think it's good enough. Or $300K, whatever. I think it's good enough, man. Especially if you have a much better prize split. The whole concept, I think FGC is way too focused on if you're not first or last. And way, way, way too focused on that. I think that's a really bad cultural perspective that the FGC has. Sports in general has that, but in any other sports league, you make a salary. I'm sorry, you get paid. You get a salary. To legacy, yes, if you're not first or last in many sports domains, but people debate about that. That's for the fans to decide. Sponsors pay salaries. A lot of people in Capcom Cup don't have sponsors, dude. You don't need a sponsor to get into Capcom Cup. And also, sponsors don't pay salaries. And also, sponsors barely exist anymore because it makes no fucking sense to waste money on a player for a crapshoot for them to potentially make it into Capcom Cup, for them to become the 8th best player on the planet to make $2,000 or $3,000 fucking dollars. What was the point of sponsoring them? What was the point? You don't make a return on investment. The Street Fighter League players get salaries in Japan, yes. Which is also why we see, in Street Fighter League Japan, they have a ton of viewership. They have these rules regarding watch parties, which forces people to watch the primary broadcast. They're cracking 100K on the main channels per episode weekly. And then they do pay-per-view for the playoffs. And people pay to go to in-person viewing cafes, esports cafes. And they grab their little noisemakers with their favorite esports team that they're rooting for in the Street Fighter League playoffs. And they go, yay! They clap them together. Yay! Oh, Kawano throw loop them. Yay! Good 8 squad. Yay! And then there's money. And then all the players get paid. That's literally what's happening in Japan. I am not exaggerating. And so, like I said, from that point of view, them going to then make Capcom Cup pay-per-view, it makes sense if that's what you see in Japan all the time and it's working for Street Fighter League. I really feel like this would have been so much better if they just did behind-the-scenes content and extra content for a premium broadcast. I think that would have been dope. This is dumb. I would have paid for the premium content. You know what I mean? Like, I can afford it. I'm interested. But this is just not it. And it's too all or nothing. Like, if they've been losing money on this, they should have tried to, like, inch their way into this by doing an extra stream or something, doing something extra, like slowly pivot towards something like this. But doing this $0 to $40 is just too much. It's too much. And some people from all over the world are just not going to be able to afford this. They're just not. I think here even Mena had a good tweet about this, about the cultural impact. So he tweeted in Japanese. We'll do a little. I got a flash grok you. I'm sorry. Find it hard to accept. I understand that in Japan, this is considered normal, and fortunately, the community is still able to support each other in this way. However, in many regions, including my own, there is hardly even the leeway to play this game. No one should be deprived of the opportunity to enjoy the pinnacle of Street Fighter. I think it's still too early. Yeah, Menardi is an amazing fucking ambassador. Like, what a way to navigate this. I understand that in Japan this is considered normal, and fortunately the community is still able to support each other in this way, right? He's acknowledging that it's normal in Japan and that they do support the community that way, and that also it's a bit of a privilege to be able to do that. It's a privilege to be able to do that, right? The point he's saying is like, other parts of the world, there is real fucking poverty, right? $40 USD is that's like food for the week or watching a Street Fighter tournament. You know what I mean? Like, that's serious money in some parts of the world. And these parts of the world still have fans of the game and still have players that are doing amazing or are trying to make this dream a reality, right? Parts of the US too, yeah. It depends on your situation. And I'm not against things being entertainment costing money, but like I said, this is just antithetical. It doesn't make sense. So he says, however, in many regions, including my own, there's hardly even the leeway to play this game. Like, they almost can't even play this game due to lack of access, economic opportunity to afford it, internet connection, whatever. Like, you need a PC, you need a PS5, you need a controller, yada yada. No one should be deprived of the opportunity to enjoy this pinnacle of Street Fighter. Yeah. I think for the World Finals, for the culmination of the World Tour with qualifiers around the world, you have to be a bit more understanding and make it available. Like I said, Street Fighter League Japan, whatever, man. That's for the Japanese audience. I can almost understand pricing it around exclusively those people in Japan. I kind of get that more to a degree. I'm far more understanding of that. But to do it for the World Tour, the whole point is supposed to inspire people from all over the world. $40 to watch Street Fighter or $40 to play Street Fighter? Tough choice. Yeah. It's crazy that it's all or nothing. Like I said, I think a premium broadcast would have been a cool idea. I'm totally for more ways to monetize this, especially to get support from those who can afford to and want to, like myself. I would definitely financially support the Pro Tour. If it meant getting a little bit of a perk, buy a DLC, whatever. I don't pay for Street Fighter 6 DLC aside from the characters, but I used to go out of my way to buy the Capcom Pro Tour DLC, specifically because it went to support the Capcom Pro Tour. So I'm sure there's people like me who have a little bit of disposable income to afford those sorts of things who would be happy to do so. I think they need to find more avenues for that, rather than pricing out people who can't afford it anyways. And creating more barriers to entry. Listen, I guarantee you, even if you wanted to fucking pay for this thing, I almost guarantee you it's going to be a shit show. I have tried to pay for stuff online. I went to Japan. I tried to register for that Japan premiere. I tried to make a dinner reservation in Japan. Do you know how hard it is as someone not Japanese to get anything done online in Japan? Even if I had the money, even if I was trying to pay for me and all of my friends to watch Street Fighter, the Capcom Cup for Street Fighter 6, Capcom Cup 12 live, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. The websites are designed pretty poorly, and on top of that, they're all in Japanese, and sometimes they often require things like Japanese phone numbers and other forms of identification that tie you to like a Japanese address. Wait, Brian, you saying you don't have $40? No, that's not what I'm saying. I think I'm saying the opposite. Yeah, I'm telling you, try to make a dinner reservation in Japan as a tourist. Man. That's tough. So I can imagine a lot of people just giving up, because it's probably going to be some Japanese websites all in yen. I don't know. It's going to be a weird time. Looking forward to the Cap Cup recaps. I'm not going to have one for the finals. And I still don't know, like I said, regarding the rules for Street Fighter League, you can't cover I don't cover Street Fighter League Japan because you can't. I'm not allowed to watch this on stream. So to be perfectly selfish and self-serving, what I would like to do is on a day where I got nothing else planned for stream and I got some free time to stream, I would like to watch the VOD for Street Fighter League Japan on stream as a watch party. That would generate React content for me, which is low effort and often stealing. To me, I'm not generally pro React content because I do firmly believe that it's generally a form of theft and it hurts the creator ecosystem and de-incentivizes primary content creators from putting in the effort to produce content that is high effort and valuable to the audiences. I think it hurts the ecosystem, absolutely. So generally, I try to stay away from that stuff. I have a slightly different opinion for live events and sporting type events, esports events. I think generally the goal of an esports event is to get people to watch the broadcast, to get people involved. So if I react to a VOD of Street Fighter League, I feel that I'm actually contributing more towards the cultural awareness of this event, getting your eyeballs on your sponsors and getting more people interested in the actual event who might tune in live in another time, right? So I have morally, I sort of feel like that's more okay. So, but I also understand the willingness to lock it down behind a paywall, or lock it down, not a paywall, but rather lock it down so that you have to watch through the primary broadcast, whatever, I get it. That's annoying, but fine. But that prevents me from doing that. Selfishly, I would like to do this because then I can double my time. I can watch Street Fighter League Japan and be entertained myself, and also monetize it myself in front of my audience, and therefore make a return on my investment in time. And then 3, I can then use that to maybe analyze an interesting match, learn more about the Japanese scene, and find an interesting takeaway, storyline, meta development technique, high level analysis, something to pull away from that, and then to produce that for YouTube content, and then use that to, you know, monetize on the YouTube channel, and also once again feed back into advertising the original broadcast, the original event. And I feel that's a healthy ecosystem and a healthy life cycle of the content for all the parties involved. I don't think React content follows that normally. I think that's actually, I think most reactors are coping when they say it helps the original creators. I don't think it does at all. So I would like to do that for Street Fighter League Japan. I can't. I'm not allowed to. Now for Capcom Cup, I don't know if I'm even allowed to watch the VODs on stream for any of these. They haven't, from what I've read, they haven't said anything. It just says to buy your tickets, and I went through some of the details. It hasn't said that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to release rules regarding the Capcom Cup viewership similar to this. And also, you know, it's pay-per-view for the finals. They definitely don't want you using clips. I did the Capcom Cup recap videos of the finals, and I edited down the moments, narrated them, scripted it, provided storylines, dug through old interviews with players, I did a lot of work on that Capcom Cup recap video. Like, this video here was a ton of fucking work. And it required, you know, it wasn't just me highlighting the plays of each match. You know, we went through and gathered all the stats. I did my research on Blas, for example. I had this whole segment to win the tournament from the beginning. On the other hand, we have Blas, 15 years old, first time in Japan, second ever international offline tournament, and to the majority of the world, the first time they have ever heard of him. Period. But I had to dig through his whole backstory. Does not mean Blas has not been putting in work for a long time. Old tweets, old replays. You know, there's a bunch of shit I had to go through to produce this. The history of Chilean fighting game champions. Talked about Kakadu's backstory. Switching the character crisis between Mai and JP and Bison. You know, like there's a ton of work that goes into this. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that anymore. Start making the video a week later. With Street Fighter League, they flag you. Even if you do it a week later, your footage can just get flagged automatically and get your channel taken down. You're just not supposed... It's just... You don't end up wanting to touch it, essentially. There's automated systems in play that can get your YouTube channel put in a precarious position. So generally, you don't want to do that. Now, have I been hit with one of those? No, because I've just avoided it. So maybe you can get away with it. The thing is, with all these sort of systems that are trying to restrict access and restrict reuse of content, it's generally not worth trying to play with fire, because if you get a copyright strike on your channel, or they like duplicate the copyright strike across multiple sections of a video and do them as individual copyright strikes instead of as one, for example, 3 copyright strikes are out. So you can just get your channel, like, you know, Thanos snapped out of nowhere if you're not careful playing with these kind of things. Even if they don't intend, even if the copyright holders aren't trying to like nuke your channel, that can end up happening. So it's generally, it's like, yeah, as a YouTuber, you're like, I ain't gonna mess with this. So it's one of those things. $40 for Japanese is steep. Yeah, the yen is not doing that well either. I am very much of the opinion that this is still going to be successful with the Japanese audience, but that is also a pretty steep price even for someone in Japan, which is, in my opinion, the target audience for this. In general, you know, the world economy is not doing too well. And I also feel like this is just a general trend that we're seeing with the world becoming less global in a sense. Since COVID, I think we've become a lot more insular economically and socially and politically. In general, I think the world is kind of retreating to nationalism. And I honestly feel like this is part of it. I feel like this, to me, is another symptom of all that. Arm wrestling is a smaller niche than FGC, which uses pay-per-view model, but the money goes to the athletes directly, not via a prize they possibly can win. Interesting. I think people would also feel much more... this doesn't feel connected to supporting the players and the members of the FGC. It feels more like a cash grab by Capcom. So I think there's a big difference there. Which is why things like doing the DLC to support the Capcom prize pool, I feel like there's a sense of pride that goes into this, where you're like, yeah, I like the Capcom Pro Tour. I want this to be hype. I want the players to play for high stakes, and I want them to be able to eat. I will support this, right? There's an element of pride in what you're supporting there. This doesn't feel that way. And, you know, honestly, you can make the argument that something might have to give internally for the wheels on this bus to keep spinning, but they're not presenting it in that fashion. So this is going to lead to reactions of people just calling it greedy. This was free before, now you're charging me fucking $40, you greedy bastards, right? Maybe they could have instead been like, hey, look, we want the Capcom Cup to be the biggest and best event possible for a global audience. We want to be able to keep doing this for a very long time. Here's our roadmap and plan to make this a sustainable esports ecosystem to support the players and the fans alike, and reward them with entertaining Street Fighter action. Here's our roadmap. We're going to do an extra pay-per-view stream here that's going to have more behind-the-scenes content, premium broadcast along with the free one. You know what I mean? Like, there could have been something where they're more forthcoming and they start to slowly sort of add things to monetize and add value instead. You know, there could have been something. There could have been something, not just like, give us $40, asshole. How much was the pay-per-view for Street Fighter League? Oh my god, thank god I did this on the other... What? Thank god I googled that off stream. Autocorrect on Google? What does that even stand for? I would have gotten banned so fast. I typed in Street Fighter League pay-per-view Japan in Google, and it auto-corrected pay-per-view to POV and another acronym, and I don't even know what that stands for, the other acronym. And the results were diabolical. Okay. You know what's crazy? I see people scroll Twitter and everything on stream. Dude, you guys are playing with fire. Playing with fire. I see people Google stuff on stream. Insane. Divo is insane for doing that? Yes. Yes. What are you doing, dude? I don't care how clean your timeline normally is, man. You don't know. You don't know. There's straight up snuff films on Twitter, dude. Like, you don't know what you're going to scroll upon. Yeah, does anyone know the price for the Street Fighter League Japan pay-per-view? What they charged last year? The playoffs for 15. The final. Oh, what's up, Anton? The finals were 30, and the playoffs were 15. That's better. That's better than 40, or I guess 26.75. If we're being fair, either one of these is 26.75. So if the finals were 30, then this is about the same price, actually. Like $27 for either one. $30 for a regional Street Fighter League finals is wild. Well, yeah, so that gives you a frame of reference. It costs $30 for Street Fighter League Japan playoffs. And that now, after they did that last year, they're now charging for Capcom Cup and Street Fighter League Worlds. So, what does that tell you guys? That should indicate that that shit was successful. Capcom might have made the biggest bag they've ever made from Street Fighter League and the esports division in general from doing that. And they're like, holy shit, we haven't been milking this whole time. That's why I keep trying to argue this point of view where it's like, I think Japan is like, damn, we're making money now. Street Fighter 6, Capcom Japan is like, oh shit, Street Fighter 6 is blowing up. The Japanese audience is willing to pay for this finally. We can make money. And they're like, fuck the rest of the world. These guys don't give a shit. That might be what they're thinking. That might be their mindset. But the biggest, it would just be so stupid if they really think the rest of the world's going to pay this. The rest of the world is not paying this. If they honestly think that, that is very dumb. The rest of the world just sits out 1 year and they make it free again. Maybe. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. I wish we could see the numbers behind this. There could be a world where this bombs horrifically and they make it free next year. There could be a world where this bombs horrifically and Capcom Esports implodes and there is no Capcom Cup next year. There could be a world where this does okay and they keep it the same, or they does amazing and they double down on monetizing the Japanese audience. I don't know. It's important to remember that Capcom Cup and the whole Capcom Pro Tour doesn't need to exist for Capcom. Brian, you need to qualify for and win Capcom Cup. Then during your victory speech, condemn this on stage. Yeah, sure, no problem. I think the other issue is like people expect protests and people to take a stand. So for someone to win Capcom Cup, they have to be extremely talented and also dedicate their all every day for even having a minuscule shot of winning such a thing. Therefore, they were 100% invested in this career path, and this is their meal ticket at the end of the day. And once you are invested in that much in this path, it becomes very difficult to then bite the hand that feeds, right? I think Meta RD is doing it great. He's speaking his mind, speaking about how this isn't something that is going to be helpful for people from all over the world. So he's doing their best. But, you know, in general, people in these positions don't often have the luxury of a backup plan to shake the boat too much in that sense. It's very easy for someone in my position to talk shit about Capcom all I want because it doesn't hurt my bottom line at the end of the day. And they can't blacklist me for my own stream, for example. Not saying they want to for me. But you know, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, this is my own platform. What the fuck are they going to do? So it's different from, you know, different people's perspectives, how invested they are in certain ecosystems. $40 is 1/6 of a salary where I live, right? That's the issue. No regional pricing. There's so many things they should have done better regarding this. First of all, it shouldn't like I said, I've been repeating myself at this point. It shouldn't have been this all or nothing thing. It should have been an extra broadcast, a premium tier broadcast with behind the scenes content, something extra to offer. But at minimum, if you're going to do pay-per-view like this on a global scale, there needs to be some kind of plan for regional pricing, partnerships with different broadcasts systems in different regions. You cannot be charging the same price for this around the globe. It does not make sense. You are pricing out a huge portion of the planet. A huge portion of South America is just not going to be able to tune in. I saw a Japanese tweet mentioning pay-per-view stream platform Zyko was very unstable. Is that where they're streaming it? This says Spawn. It'll be free a week after. You could argue that we're... Let me try to get your perspective here. Are you trying to suggest that people are being overly dramatic about it being gatekept by pay-per-view because it'll just be available a week after, therefore it's not a big deal if you can't afford to pay it or don't want to, you're still going to be able to get the content, you'll still be able to watch the full matches and watch it a week later? If I try to argue in good faith for that position, I would say yes, you're right, people can watch it a week later. All the content will be freely available. If you really care about seeing the full top 16, you're going to be able to get the full action and get the experience, yes. However, I think that you're not going to get the experience because the experience of a competitive broadcast or any sort of tournament is about watching it live. If you're going to watch it a week later, you're going to watch the highlights that trim the fats and give you the storylines, and they're more of a recap, sports recap. Look at some kind of sports show on ESPN, the highlights. You're not going to watch the full game, and you're also going to be less invested, and it's going to reach a fraction of the live audience. So it won't just be as like inspiring. If we generally or traditionally, the point of these large scale events, the Evos, the Capcom Cups, the whole point was for you to see the grand stage, see the spectacle, and then the little twinkle in your eye forms, right? You're like, wow, that's amazing. Wow, look at the crowd going crazy. Wow, this guy's doing this right now somewhere in the world. Wow. And then I want to pick up this game. I want to try that myself. I want to go on this journey and see how far I can go, right? That, I mean, I think almost every single person in this stream chat has had that moment. And that moment can occur through VOD replays. That can occur. I'm not saying it can't. Evo Moment 37, that had legs on its own years after the moment occurred. So those moments can happen. However, it's so much easier to feel that and to be connected to that based on or during a live broadcast, and especially with the technology of, you know, Twitch chats, YouTube chats, whatever. You can participate in the buzz on social media. It helps to drive that feeling of engagement and participation and that excitement, and it also really helps deliver that. People share the moments instantly. In the modern era, it has to happen live. Esports on Stream East, who would have thought? The day has come. There's no community watching a fucking VOD. I will say sometimes VODs are nice because you can skip the downtime. Even UFC is moving away from a strictly pay-per-view model in Street Fighter 6 and UFC. Dude, I'm telling you, we did this backwards. Like I said, I'm not entirely against pay-per-view, but we did this whole thing backwards. Everyone doing these massive fucking events, giving away millions of dollars in prizing, trying to capture this whole giant market and hoping one day we'll turn this around and make a profit on this. I do feel like Canada Cup was ahead of their time, man. This shit should have started smaller. It should have started smaller, and it should have been maybe pay-per-view for a hardcore audience. Maybe, you know, have the quality options. It should have grown naturally to the point where it can actually be large enough to support a free and large-scale viewing experience. Maybe they could have done, you know, different quality splits, different things. Like, we grew this was too large too fast. None of this made sense. Like, in general, the pay-per-view model is there when you don't have the scale to support the free broadcast. Like, that's actually, to me, what makes sense. You have to have such a large audience to be able to support the sponsorship and ad revenue to support the events. Football World Cup matches aren't behind pay-per-view. Yeah, because they can afford that. Like, that makes more sense to me because there's billions of people watching. I'm not trying to say that this is a good idea, but I'm just saying, like, they're doing it backwards. Going from free to pay-per-view is backwards. Pay-per-view to free makes so much more sense as a development. TV stations pay a ton of money for Football World Cup rights, by the way. Exactly, because they want to be able to sell the ad spots. Because billions of people are watching that. I think this model, don't get me wrong, but I've gotten some flack for talking about pay-per-view and showing some inkling of support for this. I think this model is dumb and they're going backwards. However, in general, I do think people expect the scale of show and broadcast for nothing for a niche community. In general, that's not how things work. And if you expect things to be supported strictly via advertisements, expect the content and the broadcast to be the most mass appealing and generalized content possible to get the most eyeballs, right? Same thing happens with any of your favorite YouTube content creators or anything that you enjoy, your favorite musician, right? Eventually they become called sellouts for trying to appeal to a larger audience, but then that's the only way to support themselves when the business models are driven via numbers in that sense, rather than a more niche audience that actually supports financially. That's just the economic reality of a lot of these things. Not saying that this is good, but something to keep in mind. Like, that always happens. Does this mean there won't be any ad downtime? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. I think this is going to be packed with ads. I highly doubt it. I would suspect... I'm suspecting this to be the same broadcast as last year. I think if they were going to change the broadcast significantly, they would have led with that. That's my hunch. I can't say for sure. Pure speculation on my part, to be clear. I feel like they would have led with that. Hey, pay-per-view, less ad time, more uptime, better quality, right? They didn't lead with that, so I'm expecting it to be very similar. And in general, there's going to be ad time just from the practical logistics of swapping players in and out and doing button checks, whatever. Unless, you know, they made an effort to do side-by-side setups and, you know, something to split the stage, right? Like, there's going to be some logistical limitations that are going to slow down the pace of the event no matter what. Now, maybe if that downtime, they could do something more entertaining in between, more analyst segments, interviews, something. Maybe they could do that. They have to have different teams to fill. I mean, the commentators have to fucking pee. You know, so that's gonna happen. They can't sit there for that many hours, so they could get better at like rotating them out, doing certain things, but then they got to physically rotate out the commentators. So they have to. The logistics are still there. I don't know if they'll be better about it. If they were, I think they would be leading with that. That's what the in-game commentators are for. True. Just put on the Japanese commentators. We're good to go. $40 is for the bundle. 6,000 yen is 40 USD. 4,000 yen is like $27. Hey, what up, Merlin FGC, by the way? Thanks for the 7 months. Appreciate that. I think it's a production issue. I don't blame the commentators at all. Yeah, if you blame the commentators for yapping during downtime, then you have lost the plot, my man. Some people act like commentators are purposely trying to yap into the air about nothing in the production. The players and the production are sitting there staring at their watches like, come on, guys, please stop talking so we can play. You think that's what's happening? Like, I see some people act like that's what's happening. They're trying their hardest to fill the dead air because production's in their ear like, hey, we have a technical issue. You need to pretend that nothing is wrong and entertain 100,000 plus people watching this show who want nothing more than for you to shut the fuck up right now so the match can begin. That's their job. And then the production has to go figure out what's wrong. Meanwhile, the entire Twitch chat is like, why won't this guy stop talking so they can start the next match? Why is this commentator ruining my life right now? What up, Drees? We need you to say fighting games. No. Thanks for the big 32. You definitely don't need me or anyone else. I think the games are pretty good. The games are pretty good right now. Could be better. But I think they're pretty good. I think Street Fighter 6 is a very good game. Yeah, the world's in a whack spot for sure. The world is definitely in a more whack spot. The games are pretty good. Battle Hub Watch Party would make sense. Like, we already paid $60 for the game and then $30 each year for DLC Pass. This is at a minimum. I'm still shocked they haven't figured out how to do an integrated Capcom Cup or CPT Premier viewing experience in the Battle Hub. Is that not the point of the whole thing? I think, is 2XKO going to nail that before Street Fighter 6? That would make so much more sense. Imagine if you could pay $40 to watch this, or boot up your copy of Street Fighter 6 and go to the Battle Hub and you can watch the game. That would make so much more sense. What was the point of the giant Battle Hub screen if you can't watch the tournament premieres? Dota did in-game broadcasting. I literally thought that was the point. If they do that, they could still run ads, though. Yeah, you would run the, if you put the broadcast in the game, you're still running the in-broadcast ads, right? You're not getting the Twitch ads and the YouTube ads, which I guarantee you are a fraction of the profit. Like, you're not, like, Capcom is not running Capcom Cup to make ads by hitting the 30-second ad button on their Twitch dashboard. That's not how they're making the money. They're making the money by selling these sponsorship packages for orders of magnitude more money than they'll make on those ads from the platforms. Like, their deal with whatever car company they're doing, whatever, I don't know. They got some Japanese sponsors going on. Those are significantly more money than the pennies you get on the eyeball, that the fraction of a pennies you get per eyeball with the on-platform ads. What up, Riddles? Not just the game, but the literal whole event is broadcast in Battle Hub. It is not. What I'm saying is that it should be. I think that would actually be... Wouldn't that be an interesting compromise? You do pay-per-view, or you boot up the Battle Hub and watch with your homies. Therefore, like, would you spend $40 on the broadcast or just buy the game? And the game is on sale for $40. That would be better. It's on sale for $20 now? Right, okay. It's literally on sale right now? Capcom hire Brian? Yeah, they'll go, nice idea, Brian. How do we set up the network infrastructure to stream across all these separate servers the full Capcom Cup broadcast live without any interruptions? This is a network engineering question. Oh, nice. Another ideas guy. We love those.
Bitch, I live in a fucking trash can.
We love those. Bongo the man with the big 9 months. Appreciate that. Want to save fighting games? Go to your local. Fighting games don't need saving. I do agree with the sentiment of go to your locals, but does go to your locals alone save fighting games? Does that save fighting games at the scale? I don't know. Gaming expectations are so different these days. The truth of the matter is humans are driven by convenience. That is the unfortunate reality of the matter. I think the big thing that the FGC has lost due to the nature of convenience is a lot of the local scenes, and also our ability to do regional rankings, things that the Smash community does, which I think has to do in part with the fact that the games are larger, and also the fact that the online netcode is trash. They have really robust and active local scenes, and then they care about these regional rankings, and they provide these stepping stones for players to climb. Like, hey, I might not be winning Capcom Cup, but maybe within my state, I could beat this one PR ranked player, and therefore that's a notch on my belt that gets tracked, and I can try to get more wins consistently over time and climb the ladder here. Whereas I think in the FGC currently, you either win Capcom Cup for $1 million or no one cares. And it makes it very demoralizing, I think, for newer players. It's kind of hard. We don't really provide very good stepping stones, which is, I think, something that the Stage Game Slam helped address, like those kind of events, the influencer events. Just having those different tiers, the tier 1 beginner players can actually get invested and care and have a stepping stone to compete in. We've been very bad at being so top heavy, I think, in the FGC for too long. That whole, if you're not first, you're last mentality, I think, has been a really bad mentality that we've had for a very long time. Very, very long time. The internet has made it unnecessary for a lot of people to go to local, so they don't. Correct. That's a huge part of it. Like I said, we're creatures of convenience. Whatever's the most convenient thing to do, we will do, even if it yields slightly worse outcomes or it's not quite as fulfilling. Convenience is king for our behavior, no matter what, and so we have to change our environments to make more advantageous behaviors more convenient. That's the hack for doing anything in life, is to make whatever desirable outcome you want more convenient. If it's more convenient for you to lay around in bed and eat fucking Twinkies, then that's what you're going to do. But if you make it harder to do that stuff, you put your alarm on the other side of the room when you go to sleep, you don't bring any prepackaged food into the home, then that becomes inconvenience, and then suddenly you won't do that shit as much. Same thing with video games and locals and our communities. I worked with Panda when we were doing rankings. We tried doing one for Street Fighter and other general fighting games, and no one was really interested. We were kind of shocked. I was interested. I really enjoyed when Panda stepped in to try to do the power rankings. I think it does become more difficult in the Street Fighter community because it's so international, and it becomes hard to compare across communities because of that. Whereas Smash has generally been a lot more just NA focused, USA focused. So the rankings and the cross-pollination of the players gives you a lot of data that people tend to trust. But for Street Fighter and other international communities where there's really good talent all over the world and they don't get to play each other that often, it gets a lot more muddled. But I remember Panda doing the power rankings for Street Fighter, and I remember interacting with that content and talking about it, engaging with it. And the fact that no one cared did suck, for sure. But I think I wish that persisted, and then it could eventually trickle down into like regional rankings to get people to care about their own regions. Ultimate is very international now. Yeah, Japan has been going crazy in Ultimate. But that always leads to debates, right? I see the debates in the Ultimate community about, oh, so-and-so's ranks inflated because they live in Japan. Things like that. There's always going to be issues. It's going to lead to debates. But I always see arguments about, oh, power rankings, this, that, are terrible because everyone gets emotional and debates about it. That means that they care. I do not think that people having their feelings a little ruffled, getting a little, I don't know about this, I don't like that, I don't think that's a problem. If anything, I think that's a good thing. The worst thing you can get is crickets. Silence. No one caring. As long as it's like a little bit of a disagreement because people care about the outcome, that's a good thing. If no one gives a fuck, that's bad. That is bad. Debates are engagement. I'm not saying all disagreements are good engagement. I'm not saying all engagement is good. I'm not of that position either. At all. I do think there's such thing as bad press. I think there's bad engagement and there's bad press. And I think engagement baiting is bad. But I will say that, you know, disagreements about implementation of something does not mean that the whole thing is bad. Do we know the stance on restreams of Capcom Cup with this pay-per-view situation? Oh, you definitely can't restream the finals if it's pay-per-view. No way. They didn't say anything specific, but that's just how it works. If you restream, doing restreams of pay-per-view is copyright infringement, always. That's a general legal issue. What I'm wondering, though, is about the group stages, the 11th through the 13th, if they are going to enforce restrictions on watch parties and restreams. That there's piracy? Yeah, it becomes piracy. Group stages on YouTube and Twitch? Right, but even Street Fighter League is on YouTube and Twitch, but if you try to broadcast Street Fighter League, they haven't been enforcing their rights for Street Fighter League Japan for them to enforce copyright strikes. Unless you this should be visible on your screen for the watch party for Street Fighter League Japan. So what I'm wondering is, they didn't go into details. I'm wondering if they're gonna have similar stipulations for the group stages. From what I've seen, they have not gone into detail about that. All they mentioned is the dates, the arena, the tickets. They haven't said anything about restream rules. Only the timer? Yeah. This is what you can restream for Street Fighter League Japan, and it still works in Japan. Big content creators will watch. Like, I saw a clip of a compilation of reactions to. Sorry, I'm forgetting his name. He played Blanca. He had his Street Fighter League debut for this season of Street Fighter League Japan, which the broadcast for Street Fighter League Japan had over 100,000 people watching live, by the way, for the first episode of this year's Street Fighter League Japan. One of the players was a content creator who ended up picking up Street Fighter V at the end and became a full-time, or was chasing the dream of becoming a professional Street Fighter player, documenting everything on stream, was in like the Haitani program, I believe, for development, and ended up being drafted eventually for Street Fighter League Japan. So his whole journey was shown on stream. And Takagi, thank you. And so people really liked following that journey. He was a large content creator even before picking up Street Fighter. And so when he finally made his debut match and he won his match, he clutched it up. He had an emotional pop-off. I saw a compilation of other big streamers from Japan watching that moment and them getting emotional. And all you saw on screen was a black box like this, the timer, and then the guy in the corner here going like, oh, like he's crying, like, oh my God, that was so hype. I'm so emotional. Like, what a great achievement. You know, like he went through so much, you know, I'm assuming what they said, but I saw a compilation of several people doing that, and this was their stream. So I have to watch the Capcom moment, and then I have to piece together what they saw and understand contextually what they saw. But apparently those broadcasts, those restreams still get a ton of viewers. But if you saw that out of context without having the translation, you'd have no idea what they're watching or why they cared about what they saw. But apparently this works in Japan. Very dystopian. I don't think it's dystopian. Guys. That's a little extreme. Dystopian. I don't think it's dystopian. I think we're still grappling with copyright laws in the internet era. It is? You think it's dystopian? Dystopian. I will say I do think we're a little bit... I think American audiences are a little bit, you know, like... we kind of don't pay for shit and expect it all for free. There's a little bit of that going on. I'm not going to lie. I do think we need to figure out better ways to make things fair for everybody involved. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that's dystopian. And I don't really care about people stealing from multi-million-dollar companies, right? I will say, though, that sometimes I find that attitude persists at all levels when it doesn't make sense. Like I said before about React content. I think reacting to a small YouTuber and stealing their work without their permission and uploading a reaction video where all you do is sit in the corner and go, wow, okay, cool. And and you are a content aggregator, a massive content creator, and you're producing a farm that outputs hundreds of videos a day, and you're absorbing all of the original content produced by tons of people who invest their time and have their own talents and expertise, and I think you are a leech on the system, right? I think that exists for sure. And I think some people would argue that that's totally fair or whatever. I don't think so. I think that can stifle production of original content and creativity. So I'm not always against these kind of lockdowns. Don't you do it too? I don't do that for produced videos unless I specifically ask the content creator. And even then I don't like doing that. I've done it before for Core Gaming, which I asked them directly and I said, listen, is this something you're okay with? Whatever. And Big Lightning. But generally any produced videos content, I don't do that. I don't watch people's YouTube videos on my stream for that reason. I watch live broadcasts. I think live broadcasts are different. I talked about it earlier. I think tournaments are different. So I don't think it makes sense for this, but I kind of understand it. Small YouTubers benefit from the advertising of the video to an extent. I think no, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. Corey is definitely not a small channel, so I think it's fine. I don't think that's how you should define it either. But once again, like I only do that when I specifically talk to the content creator and I give them the exact plan on what I'm doing. And I say that for very special occasions. I don't think it's something that you should do often. I think that is generally a glitch in the system. I wish the platforms would solve that. YouTube should just have a system for you to be able to split revenue with the original content creator. I think reaction content is very lazy and produces a lot of issues with our algorithmic systems. But I think there could be at least a benefit in the actual platform where if something is like, hey, this guy just sat here talking about my video the whole time, we should negotiate a split of this revenue because I made that video they're reacting to. I should get a percentage of that revenue. Instead, they only save that for like when you use 30 seconds or 15 seconds of a song, some dude who owns the estate to some guy who died 100 years ago starts sucking up all the revenue from your hour-long movie because a car drove by in one of your live action shots and out of the window was playing some Bach or some shit. Like that's how that works right now. Literally. Just music labels just trying to suck the revenue out of people producing original content. But I think the platforms could do better to help this problem. Sage Slam has so much potential, but it's not helped by install day before, do one or no coaching sessions, then never touch the game again. Tyler 1's run helped because he stuck with it. I think the majority of the people who have participated in the Sage Slam have done so with honest and genuine attempts and effort, which I appreciate. I think there's been mostly a really high success rate in that. I think there were a stinker or two in the mix that have happened in the past, but plenty of people from the Sage Slams have been in the mix overall in the FGC since then. And a lot of the people I've worked with personally still play. But that is something that I think is important. I agree. Like when I did the last Sage Slam, when on the forum, I put like, who would you want in your team? I always just put like, I want people who are going to care. That's all I want. I want someone who's going to care and put in a genuine effort. And I think it's been rather successful in that front. Yeah, Deku still plays. Everyone still plays. Deku plays. SK plays. Slime still plays. Slime is posting someone rage quitting every other day on his Twitter. People care like Doki Bird. I mean, Doki Bird, her main thing is in Street Fighter, but she, you know, she did her thing on the Sage M Slam. So, like she showed up and she played. That's the most I can. She practiced. We did some training sessions, and I think she brought a lot of notoriety and fun attention to the events and got people into the game. Now, I don't expect everyone to make it their fucking life to play Street Fighter after. I think that's a little silly. I think Doki really brought a lot of positive buzz around Street Fighter for sure. And she cooked, man. Unfortunately, Sage and Slam hasn't translated to more content creation from said streamers. They just go back to their games, just give them their usual numbers. I think we just talked about examples of people who definitely pivoted to a degree to incorporate fighting games into their rotation. But also, in general, like, expecting everyone to completely switch to full-time fighting game streams is a little, like, silly. Like, come on, dude. Not everyone is going to play one game forever. That's not how people live their lives. Even if they only, for a period of time, give a genuine effort and play the games for a while, that's still a positive outreach. And I also think allowing fighting games to be more of a casual thing that people can dabble in here and there when they feel like it is also a good thing, rather than maintaining this illusion that you have to live your life like us. Like, we are not, you and I, guys, we are not normal people. We are very, very weird. We are very strange individuals. All of us in this stream are very strange people. Why do we care this much about a video game? Okay, so I think it's important to also have some people that dabble in the games for fun, have a good time, hop in when they feel like it. Hey, let's boot up some. Hey, what's up, my man? Let's boot up some Street Fighter 6. Let's boot up some 2XKO, play some duos, right? I think that's really important that the genre needs. And actually, I'm really surprised. I've been enjoying that a lot with 2XKO. I did not think I would care that much about that aspect of the game, but to me, being able to recently just like play a quick set with a friend and talk some shit, it has actually been like a really refreshing experience, instead of just being all in and caring way too much about my performance and you know, always treating it like growing in a discipline and focusing on constant growth and analyzing my execution and this and that. It's pretty hardcore to do that forever. I was very against duos until I tried it myself. What up, Shine? Yeah, it's fun. It's a little stupid too. Like, you don't have to win. Like, even if you're getting your ass beat, it can be fun. And I think that's something that people can hop in casually. I honestly did not really buy that for a long time until I tried it myself. Now, if you're talking about streamers in relation to things like Legendus, I guess you can feel a little bit disappointed in how in Japan, the big streamers have really stuck with it. I can understand that. I think when you look at Japan, there's massive content creators that have really gone all in or really heavily invested in fighting games. We haven't exactly crossed that threshold, but that's, I don't know. I think it's good to have some casual appeal as well. Look at the numbers they get. You mean their viewership when they play the fighting games? Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? Yeah, I'm looking at when's the last time Shaka has played some Street Fighter 6? 8 days ago? Playing some Battlefield 6. What's in here? Played Street Fighter 6 for 6 hours. This guy's streaming for 14 hours? Damn, it's been a lot of League. Last month, some Street Fighter 6, 3 hours. Watching Esports World Cup. And it's still in the mix, man. I don't know what their home stream is like. I don't know how people stream for this long. Even me doing this is too long. I'm sitting here and yapping for this long because I actually have to get off in 30 minutes at the latest. So I figured I would just hop on and yap. Is he playing ranked? 1500 MR. Wasn't he higher ranked? Is this after an MR reset? He's getting his MR back. So why does he switch to League? What happened to him? He's yawning. You got tired of cooking everybody? Just a multi-genre gamer. Interesting. Interesting. Big League streamer event currently. Oh, so there you go. Another community event to get you involved in playing different games. I think those things are pretty important. Hushaka, he's a big streamer in Japan. He does Legendus, which was a super successful, has been a super successful Street Fighter 6 influencer partnered event in Japan. This one in 2024 had 306,000 people watching. Average viewership of 261,000, which is beating EVO Japan, rivaling Capcom Cup and EVO Vegas and Peak and more average viewership as well. So, just saying, they do some work. Capcom Cup is pay-per-view? Yeah, that's what we've been yapping about. VTuber influence? Part of it, but Shaka's not a VTuber. What is the VTuber event that was specifically really popular? There's a different event. I'm forgetting. There's a couple of tournament series that have been doing really well. CR Cup. Yeah, CR Cup was very, very popular. And what's Kazunoko up to? I keep forgetting about Lord Kazunoko. How much he's been doing work. His, yeah, why am I not bringing up Kazunoko, man? His viewership's a little more random, but 216K, 131K, 116K. Apparently his streams get a ton of viewership when he's live. And he does streaming mostly on YouTube now. I don't know if he does any Twitch streaming anymore. 114K views on this VOD. 91K views. Peak thumbnails. The Japanese thumbnails are cheating, dude. They cram so much information in their thumbnails. It's such a hack. We'd get one word in. We use fonts this big. They're writing fucking 500-word essays in these thumbnails. Full conversations, dude. You cannot do this in English. But all of the players, all of their thumbnails are like this. This is kind of the style for all of their YouTube thumbnails. Has someone actually done this in English? I'm telling you, it just doesn't work. This is very common for Japanese YouTube, though. And in these videos, this is 216K views. Oh, I'm getting auto dubbed. Kazunoko talks to Tachikawa and Shudo about the essence of her fighting game strategy. 216K views for talking with another pro about fighting games. And it's subtitles and stream highlights, you know? This is very strange. Different world we live in. Imagine a video like this with like Nephew and Punk talking about something, getting 216K views. Would never happen. What up, SK? Big 13 was good. How you doing? You ready to drop $40 to watch Capcom Cup? Don't you make those videos, Brian? Yeah, my videos don't get fucking 216k views. No disrespect, but Nephew's not great at talking. It doesn't matter if you're good at talking, dude. What points are you trying to make here? That these guys are just so entertaining with their gift of gab that they have captivated the minds and ears of all of the Japanese country? No, dude. It's just that they have a talent and skill that people want to know about. Street Fighter 6 is that popular. I promise you, these are not poets. You know, going off and spinning beautiful tales for the viewers to listen to. No, it's just that they have a talent and a skill. Maybe they have some communication skills as well to make it more engaging to listen in and participate in. But that's not the primary reason here. The community is just that big. Maybe you need to start learning Japanese. You know what's funny is I saw on my Clips channel, I accidentally had auto dubbing on, and everyone got freaked out when they saw a recent video of mine because auto dubbing was on. And for some reason, like they have auto dubbing here, and I have to go here and I have to put it back to Japanese, or else it will stay on English automatically, which is a strange setting. I think auto dubbing should be an option, but I don't think it should be on by default when you click on a foreign language video. I had auto dubbing on when this Sagat video was uploaded onto the Clips channel, and I thought it was a pretty good video. Some good Sagat gameplay, funny moments, breaking down. This is almost similar. Literally, when I outlined this video, working with my editors and working with Bruno, I pointed to an example of the Japanese stream highlights where they take usually a few moments. I was like, here's a few interesting gameplay moments. Here's some other moments to highlight, and here's me breaking down and replay review a specific round interaction, right? Like I kind of pointed to a lot of these Japanese highlight videos as a template to follow, which is funny because then auto dub was on and everyone was like, oh, Portuguese Brian is certainly one of the options available. YouTube automatic translations fucked the title so bad I had no idea what it was supposed to be in the first place. People were just like, the whole thing was like, Brian, I can't stand listening to you in different languages. Is there any option to enable the instant audio translation for when the viewer opens the video? All the comments started pouring in like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you speaking to me in a different language out of nowhere? And I was like, I don't even know. But the reason I bring this up is I saw a tweet that showed Punk's latest video. He did a reaction to C Viper, and it was a Japanese community tweet talking about, I think, Nemo or another top player reacting to this video, and they're like, wow, we're so excited. Punk's latest video has auto dubbing on, so now I can listen to him in Japanese. The Japanese audience is like immediately like, yes, I can finally get more Street Fighter 6 content from Punk, a player that is really good and really strong, an Evo champion, and I want to learn that. They were immediately, I saw immediate positive reception from that. Like they showed the Japanese Punk. You guys haven't heard that? This is it. You haven't heard Japanese Punk?
よーよーよー、良い YouTube って何？パンクだよ。また新しい動画を。
This is literally the clip they put on Twitter. Yo, yo, yo.
よーよーよー、良い YouTube って何？パンクだよ。また新しい動画を持って帰ってきたよ。今日は最高の動画だよ。だって、もうすぐバイパーのゲームプレイ動画が初公開されるんだから。もうワクワクしてるよ。東京ゲームショウで4分後に公開されるんだから、さあ、みんなで一緒に生放送でバイパーの動画を見て、どんなキャラクターなのか見てみよう。バイパーがどう変わったのか、すごく楽しみだよ。きっと。
So anyways, yeah, I saw this going around. Japanese Punk, it's real now. And yeah, the Japanese audience was like, yes, we get Punk in Japanese. So it's interesting to see that reaction because I definitely don't want auto dubbing on by default necessarily, but I think it's an option to have sometimes. But once again, I think Japan is where it's at if you're doing Street Fighter content, especially if you're a top level player. I don't think, for me personally, I don't think it would help me that much. I don't, I'm not winning Evo, right? I think the values of what the audience in Japan cares about is literally just like your results and your skill. They actually care about that, which is very different from the US. Unless you're literally Punk or Mena RD. Even then, even if you're a really good player, people talk shit about you nonstop. I don't know. I just think Western audiences just hate players. They hate players that they can understand their own language because they don't want to hear your opinions. So, anyways, I don't know if it would help for me at all. Even if I did good educational content and it was in Japanese, I think just by the fact of the virtue that I didn't win Evo and I'm not placing in premieres, it wouldn't resonate. But for players like Nephew, Punk, Chris CCH, whoever that is like doing good in tournaments and has big international wins, Ending Walker, if you could make content with auto-dubbed and being auto-dubbed in Japanese and start doing these kind of thumbnails, I think you could break in. I think it's possible. I think this is the thing that people need to do. Because, like, even look at their popularity through Tokido's vlogs, even. Jack, even. Like, Justikid. Justikid's YouTube content does not do very well. Look at this interview with Ending Walker. 136,000 views with Ending Walker right there. There's a vlog with, like, Jack's face in it. Where is that at? It had a ton of views. And Jack's YouTube does not do that well in English. And I really feel like if he just got it going in Japanese, I think he would actually do way better, right? So his YouTube is struggling, man. He can't break through for some reason. His YouTube has been struggling. He's in the hundreds of views for some of these. And he's also trying to do more like discussion-based content rather than just being good at Street Fighter. I think he could just play ranked and have people make highlights and dub it in Japanese. And I think he would start making bank. I almost feel like this would be a great experiment. I might talk to Jack about this. We just got to like pivot his whole channel into being the first American doing the exact Japanese strategy for content. Because I just don't think in America, no one cares that Justikid is one of the best jury players on the planet. His skill is not, it's not something that attracts viewership. Being good at the game doesn't matter to American audiences unless you're the best. And only then do they watch you in the tournaments. They don't want to watch you practice. They don't want to watch your journey. But in Japan, if you're a good player, they want to watch you play. It's very different. It's very different. Japan loves Jack Stairs, by the way. I always see restreamers laugh a lot every time he does that. Well, I'm glad someone loves it. I'm glad. Listen, my boy, I got to hit up David, yeah. Maybe I need to take over his channel and we go all in. Next time you hear David, yo, yo, yo. Jotsuru kiddo. Jody. It's gonna, or you're gonna be jump scared. Where is he? He was on here. I'm telling you, he was on here recently. Maybe it was maybe it was someone else's channel. But in general, most FGC competitors in the West are more famous in Japan. Would it be better to make a separate channel so you can make a Japanese optimized thumbnails? Well, now you can do A/B testing with thumbnails and titles. So maybe you could do like English thumbnails with English titles and a Japanese thumbnail with a Japanese title. That is an option. But I don't know. You could also if you use the AI tool, I think the auto dubbing is also just translating the titles. So I don't know. I wish what it should be. Listen, I know generative AI is pretty whack. I think AI, me personally, I kind of like using AI for translations. I kind of like it. Listen, please don't run to Twitter with this. I think generative AI for visuals and art and all that is stealing, and it's not art, right? You know what I'm saying? Please don't clip it. Translations, I'm not too against it. I think that's something that brings people together. You know what I mean? Like, if I had to find a use case, I feel like that's kind of something that benefits people. Mo, whatever, thanks for 3 months. But I don't think it should be forced on people. But imagine if you had a setting. I am a Japanese viewer. I want everything to be displayed to me and shown to me in Japanese. They click that on. Maybe you could have a setting for, if viewer sets language to Japanese, show this thumbnail and this title. If viewer sets language, or like, here's my default thumbnail and title. However, if their language is Japanese, show this thumbnail and title. If language is this, like, have optional replacements for when you can do different thumbnails and titles to appeal to those different audiences. That's something I'm considering, because, yeah, you guys bring up a good point. Like, maybe he'd need a separate channel, like an all Japanese channel, because the thumbnails aren't being translated. Like, this title must be translated, right? Is it? I actually can't tell. I'm not sure how the feature works entirely. Oh, maybe not. Maybe he just put his title in English. This is the shit we don't need. We don't need this. I don't need the AI burning up, 3 forests to give me an incorrectly summarized YouTube video description. Codex90, thanks for the 4 months. It's translated. You can't disable auto title translation as far as I know. So when does it turn that on? Are you just saying that if they have auto dubbing on their channel, it randomly just decides to translate the titles if it can do it as much as possible? Like, it's not my account setting, right? It's the channel's account setting, their channel. Is that what it is? That's weird. There's some kinks to work out in this system, but I really would be interested in it saving Just a Kid's channel. I really think it could save his channel. Because this video uses button more and block strings with jury. 853 views. This would go triple platinum in Japan. He just need a thumbnail. What kind of thumbnail? Whoa! Him go pogging out a little bit, going crazy. Write an essay. Just a Kid believes that using Sandy Media Jury in this block string is one of the most powerful techniques you could possibly use. You must incorporate this technique right now. Like, just keep writing a full fucking essay in Japanese. Be careful when placing this button. You must be carefully applying this in your matches. This technique is extremely powerful when wielded correctly. Click the video now to find out more about how to accurately play jury from this top-level professional player. Meanwhile, English thumbnail. Use this more. It's not even fair, man. It's not even fair. What essays are they writing in these thumbnails? What is going on here? What is happening here? It's just not fair. What? I think my audio interface is dying. I've been having... That was weird. That's never happened to me before. Auto dub got me. My shit just comes back in straight Espanol out of nowhere. Brian Fernandez takes over. Yeah, I think my audio interface is dying. I've been having weird audio issues. That's the first time it's cut out like that entirely. I basically just unplugged and plugged back in my audio interface. I don't know how long I was muted for. That was strange. That was a little strange. Like 2 sentences. I'm sure they're really, really important and really clever and dope. But, you know, y'all be okay. I sounded really smart and cool right then, you know. Some of my best work. The Street Fighter League has finally begun, and Kawano looks back and briefly explains the great plays that happened.
I'm sure that someday when I turn on this handheld camera, I'll think, oh no, that was a punch. It's definitely going to happen. Hey, good evening.
Strange. Anyways, I don't really have anything else for you guys. I'm going to be packing it up here in a minute. I got to talk to David. We need to get auto dub David to be the next big Street Fighter content creator in Japan. I really want to try to get my stuff to work in Japan also. I just don't think I could do it via auto dub. I don't think I want to turn on auto dub. I have a lot of people who watch from Brazil and Latin America. Like, a lot of my audience is Brazilian or South American. Different countries in South America make up a decent chunk, right? So I think I would just jump scare all of them like I did before on accident with Portuguese and Spanish Brian F out of nowhere. But having some kind of strategy to capitalize in the Japanese market or reach a Japanese audience, I think would be extremely important. I think that's the next step. I think we can't ignore that, dude. Everything I'm seeing about Street Fighter just says Japan, 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 Japan. Like, everything about it. And I think if you want to exist in the industry, it's, to me, the message here is get with Japan or that's it, man. I just feel like that's the message Capcom is sending. That's where the market is. That's where the viewership is. And that's what even now Capcom themselves are slowly starting to indicate that themselves. So some kind of way to tap into that market would be, I think, really important for people in the content creation and in the competitive player community. As a Brazilian, I think closed captions are the best for most of us. Right, yeah. I need to investigate that more. You know, I do the podcast, for example. I think I could give my podcast with like established professional players a second life by getting them in more languages. But I want to do it right. I don't want to just rely strictly on shitty AI translations. But yeah, I want to see. Daigo's English subs are hella nice. Yeah, like I watch Daigo with English subs. So I already appreciate having those options. How does he do it again? Which channel is he on? Daigo the Beast. Is this the English one? Some playlist. English subtitles. So I go here. But this is auto dubbed. Is that what's happening here? No? It's a manual sub. So how is he publishing these? Are they unlisted? That was 2 days ago, right? No, it's just this one.
どうもどうも。いや、昨日は
So he started just adding them to the video.
SFL 初出場ということで、まあその話
So he
題
just
を
does both.
聞きたいかなと思うんで。
Okay, because I used to use the auto translation, which was pretty funky.
実はね、まああんまりまた言うとあれなんで、細かくは言わないんですけど、オーダー的には結構出る可能性。わからんぞ、いないよ。ドラケンのリメイク？あ、やってないの？ 3 はじゃちょっとやったけど。7出るみたい。4が。
This is a little invasive, though. Like, I think I would have to do the get an actual translation and put them into the subtitle feature and not use the auto-generated one. But like I said, I think the Japanese audience likes the auto dub in Japanese. I wish the user could turn that on rather than making it a default for everybody. If the user turned that on themselves, I would turn that on for my channel. And then if the Japanese audience turned that on, they could watch my videos in Japanese. But I don't want everyone else being jump scared by some fucking Portuguese Brian F. Yeah, you can manually update the closed captioning. So I could, for example, get someone to do a manual dubbing of this and put that to my videos. I can do that. But I think you're gonna have the dubbed audio track. Can't you choose what language to get auto dubbed? Not from what I recall. I'd have to look more into it. Alpha Omegato, thanks for the prime. But yeah, I think a pro player should do this. I think I'm gonna talk to Jack. It'd be so funny to get Jack famous in Japan. Next time you see Justin again, he's gonna be rocking that silver play button. They're gonna be like, "Whoa, what, my man? You've been uploading to YouTube? I haven't seen your videos in a minute." They're like, "Oh yeah, double check, double check." It's gonna be all Japanese. Sorry, I use all Japanese characters now for my name. Full government, just a kid, back at it. It's gonna have the straight Kawano thumbnails. Get cracking 250,000 on every upload. Japanese kid. Might be the play. Might be the play. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pack it up here. I was just going to chill for a bit. I just wanted to talk about the whole strange pay-per-view move from Capcom. I got other things to do. I don't know. I don't know what's next for the Street Fighter community. We'll see how this pans out. Yeah, I don't have any closing thoughts. I think I fully exhausted everything I had to say about the topic for now. Thanks for hanging around. Interesting discussions, interesting time we're in. Wishing the best for everybody. Hopefully things work out for the best. Hopefully more people around the world get to enjoy some Street Fighter action. Speaking of Street Fighter action, Low Kick Esports is doing a regional tournament right now. Midwest Regional for Roundhouse 2025. So if you want to support a more grassroots event here, you can go ahead and check out Low Kick Esports. I'm going to raid them right now. Send you guys over there on the Twitch side of things. Say what's up. Show some love. Catch you guys next time, Twitch. And YouTube, I'm out as well. Take care.